Hello again, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
And I'm Lynn.
And we've got a news update from a very, very hotly requested story. A while back, we reported on some breaking news that it seemed like something was going on at Mayfair Games and it was possible that they were going out of business. Shortly after that, Mayfair Games said that that was not the case, but that they were going to release a press release soon to tell everybody what happened.
That was like 3 months ago.
That was like 3 months ago. Yeah. So I guess soon was relative.
Yeah.
Soon as in like before the end of the world, because they just released the press release last night, and
It wasn't even, it was like a Facebook update is where I saw it. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
a proper press release.
No. Okay.
They may have a proper press release somewhere, but that's not where I first saw it.
All right, and we've been keeping an eye to try to see when this is going to happen. So this just got released last night. Apologies that it took me a little time to get it out, but I was at work last night, so I couldn't record this. So the update is as follows. As of today, the management team at Mayfair Games, Inc. announces we will wind down game publishing. After 36 years, this was not an easy decision or one we took lightly, but it was necessary. Once we had come to this conclusion, we knew we had to find a good home for our games, which is when we reached out to Asmodee. We are pleased to announce that we have sold our games to Asmodee North America, who have acquired all the assets of Mayfair Games, Inc. This acquisition includes the product lines of both Mayfair Games and Lookout Games. We would like to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to the many retailers, reviewers, customers, industry partners, and volunteers who made us a success over the past 36 years. You helped bring our games to game stores and cafes, conventions, libraries, schools, kitchen tables, backyard patios, family vacations, and more, where thousands of fans have been introduced to the great world of board gaming. Thank you. So that's their update. They then answered a few questions, and the questions are really just clarifications on this statement. And what it all comes down to is when they said that it wasn't accurate that they were going out of business, I think they were telling a little white lie.
Well, yeah, because because I guess technically they're choosing to retire is what it makes it sound like.
But they're closing. The company, and here's the thing: a lot of companies in the past, in the recent past, have sold the company to Asmodee. Asmodee's obviously becoming this giant company with many subsidiaries as they buy up Fantasy Flight Games and Plaid Hat Games. But that's not the case here. They didn't sell the company. They sold all of the intellectual properties. So there's not going to be a Mayfair Games anymore. What it sounds like to me, and they clarified this with one of the answers to a question, was that they sold the games all to Asmodee, which is really weird because just, 2 years ago they sold Kaptain, the rights to sell Kaptain in the U.S. to Asmodee, which was probably the most valuable part of Mayfair anyway. And then just a couple years later, they sell everything else to Asmodee, which is really strange.
It makes me feel like it's like when you're playing like a worker placement game and you have this grand plan, but you do one thing out of order and then you're like, oh, I just messed up my entire game and I'm never going to win. That's what this feels like.
I just realized, while you were in the middle of saying that, which it made perfect sense to me, I realized we are ridiculously huge gaming nerds. That you came up with that analogy and that it made total sense to me.
Because I do that all the time. I have this grand plan and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this amazing epic turn. And I'm like, oh, I got too excited and I did what I should have done next turn, this turn. And yeah.
Well, okay, so Now we know. Now we know what's going on. We know that Mayfair is closing. We know that they're selling off all of their games. Well, they've already sold off all of their games to Asmodee. I guess the deal is done. They're just haven't. I guess there must be a timeline with the deal. Like they were going to close shortly, and now it's almost that point.
There's a transition period.
They have also stated that Mayfair, as the company will no longer be existing, will not be attending any more conventions. It really sounds like
Unless,
Asmodee's going to do away with the Mayfair name and just have all
well,
the
they
games.
didn't buy the name. They're
No.
not doing away with it.
Yeah, so there's going to be no more Mayfair games. They're going to any of the games they want to continue to publish immediately. They're going to be switching over to being published by Asmodee. Now, okay, so what does this mean? So first off, obviously means there is no more Mayfair games. It also means that Asmodee owns the rights to all of Mayfair's games, and they will probably publish or drop whatever they see fit. I'm sure the big ones, things like Caverna and Lords of Vegas, those are going to continue to be printed. Smaller games may disappear, but may come back periodically if they try to repackage them, maybe get some new artwork and resell them. So some of the negatives here. One negative I really have to draw attention to is the fact that Mayfair was a
They had a very large footprint at Gen Con. I
Yes.
don't know about other.
well, they were
conventions.
a big presence at many
They had
conventions.
that giant play area,
Oh, yeah.
and they had the get together, which was another just like ticketed giant play area.
And it was tons of fun.
and
Yeah.
the coffee.
You know, say what you want about issues that Mayfair had, and they had issues. Everybody has issues, but when it came to showing up to the conventions and doing really well with their fans and running events, they were great. They did fantastic demoing. They had their events at conventions were really great, and I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna miss them being at conventions. It makes me sad. It also makes me sad that all of a lot of the smaller companies and even some of the bigger ones are disappearing as they're slowly being all bought out by just a handful of major companies. I mean, there's going to come a point where literally it's just going to be Hasbro and Asmodee are going to own like all the companies out there. And that's kind of making me a little afraid because I don't like this too many eggs in one basket model that the industry is going into. I'm glad there's a lot of really tiny companies of people that just sort of start up and are able to use Kickstarter to start their companies with the publishing of their first game, because that keeps everything from being under just a couple of umbrellas. But on the positive side, there's some things that Asmodee does a lot better than Mayfair, like production quality and artwork. And
Well, artwork doesn't. I mean, it might grab your attention and
But
make you
that's-
pick up the game. But
yeah, well, it can also get you absorbed into the theme. And Asmodee does a much better job with those things than Mayfair does. So some of those things might improve in some of their big game lines. They might rework the artwork, redo the production. So I'm looking forward to see how they do with some of their.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, if they're just transitioning now, then I mean, we might not see what Asmodee has in store for like at least a year, because
It could take time.
yeah.
Well, it was pretty quick though with the Catan transition.
Well,
It was months.
Catan is big money. That's
yeah.
probably they were probably planning.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, that apparently that deal had been in the works for a long time. So there you have it. That's what we know. So there will be no more Mayfair, and that does make me a little bit sad. I mean, I bought my first Mayfair game way back in the 1980s. They've been a part of the gaming hobby since before the gaming hobby was really the big thing that it has become today. So it makes me a little sad that they're disappearing, but these things happen. So how do you guys feel about this? What are your thoughts on this news? Also, I want to know what your thoughts are on the fact that Mayfair, when the original news came out that they were going out of business, that they said, no, we're not. That's not true. And we'll have an update soon. And then they didn't have an update for a really long time. And then when they did, it was, yeah, we're going out of business. Because, I mean, basically they just said we're going out of business in a different way.
Yeah.
So I'm a little perturbed by them saying it's totally not true.
It was definitely, a spin.
Yeah.
A PR spin. Their PR person.
We've decided to stop production and retire. So yeah, I mean, it's really the same thing. But I want to know what you guys think. So please comment down below and let us know. And if you enjoyed this news update and you'd like to see us continue doing news videos like this on the channel, be sure to give it a like, share this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.